What's up, bikers? I'm Robert. This is the B1KER Bar Podcast, episode 127. I'm not going to say wow this time because that's what I do all the time. So instead, I'll just talk about wow. That's a lot. Anyways, today's guest, if you don't know who he is, I don't know what rock you're hiding under in the mountain bike YouTube world, but that's Seth Alvo from Berm and Berm Express, or the man formerly known as Seth Bike Hacks. Anyways, before we do that, let's go ahead and get started with the normal beginning of the show stuff. Do me a favor and swing by my Instagram or my Facebook and give me a follow over there. There's a bunch of free content. You can see what's going on. When I'm traveling, I usually put it there. Like last weekend, I was in SoCal. If you're on my Instagram, you knew I was there. Then you could meet up and ride some bikes or whatever. Anyways, it makes me happy whenever I see that subscriber or follower number grow. So that means a lot. And I keep making content because of it. So same thing goes with this channel here. If you're watching on YouTube, do me the favor, hit the subscribe button. Really not that hard. Takes like a second out of your day. Boom, you got it. If you like what you're listening to, hit the thumbs up. That's rad. It helps spread the word. And if you don't like what you're doing, hit the thumbs down button like twice. It'll make you feel better about yourself. Anyways, outside of that, those of you guys on Patreon, I really appreciate you. Every single one of you. You guys definitely make a huge difference in this channel. It's as cheap as $1 a month or as expensive as whatever you want to donate. So it helps buy camera gear, put beer in the fridge. I don't know, gas in my truck. That thing is ridiculous right now. $240 for a full tank. That's amazing. Anyways, let's see. What else do I do here at the beginning? Somebody, oh God, I don't know. It doesn't even matter at this point. Let's just go ahead and get started. We'll bring Seth back on. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's going on? Good to be back.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I was looking at the old episode, and I think it was like 70 something whenever you were on last.
70 something.
Yeah, the episode number. So it was like
the episode number. Okay.
Yeah. And
I can't believe you're in the triple digits, like deep into the triple digits.
Right? Yeah.
Nuts.
Do you listen to podcasts very often?
I do.
I do here and there, mostly like road trips, is whenever I really get into them. But sometimes I'll listen to them when I'm doing like our road rides as well. But I usually, when I start a podcast, I go straight to the beginning, and I try to urge people when they go to my podcast, like start at the end and work backwards, because man, I had a lot of problems at the beginning.
I know. It's but it's good to see you grow. Like when I look back at my old videos, I cringe. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing it that way, or wasn't wearing a helmet, or just you learn, and you just gotta truck forwards. Do better next time.
Yeah, and the thing I always have to remind myself is the same thing like with your channel, is that you got subscribers when you had none. So it must not have been horrible content,
Yeah, I was up against not as good a content though back then. It was like 2015, and everybody was trying to figure it out. So
yeah.
So we all rose together.
Yeah, I hear you there. Yeah, I definitely hear you there. But I don't know. Anyways, do you ever go to the movies?
Ever?
Yeah, like recently.
I've been to a movie theater before.
They sell popcorn and stuff. Did you see the new Top Gun movie?
No, I haven't been to a movie recently. Man, dad life. I don't get out and do anything.
Yeah.
It's
all
all at home.
Down, huh?
I heard it was good though.
Yeah, no, it was really good, but there goes that whole conversation.
Yeah, that goes. Well, here I saw in the comments over here it's Shark Week. I didn't even realize that was still a thing.
I never got into that. I don't know. What is it about? There's some like cult classic reason that's like crazy popular. I don't understand why people are really into sharks. Are you into sharks?
I like sharks. Like if I go snorkeling, I hope to see a shark. And sometimes I haven't been snorkeling in a while, but like I used to go snorkeling and see sharks, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Not a really big shark, I'd be kind of bummed out, but like just a sand shark or whatever.
Yeah. That's
I
pretty
think
much
they're
like the
cool.
last thing I want to see if I'm snorkeling is a shark.
Sharks are pretty chill. Like a shark the size of you
Yeah.
doesn't want anything to do with you.
Right.
In
Right.
fact,
Yeah.
they might even hang around you because you might kill something and they can eat part of it.
To pick up my scraps.
So barracudas will do that. They'll follow you around because they think you might kill something.
Right. That's interesting, man. It's definitely I don't know. I love being in the water, but maybe it's because I grew up in the 80s and Jaws was like a big thing, but the ocean is cool and all, but I like it at a distance, maybe, I don't know.
I know what you mean. Like actually the ocean, I have no problem with. I'll go in the ocean in the middle of the night. I'll just swim out into the ocean. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but like I love the ocean, but lakes freak me out a little bit.
Really?
I mean, I'll go in a lake, I'll swim in a lake, but they freak me out more than the ocean.
Yeah, I don't really like, for me, the thing with the ocean is more like once you get out and it's like super deep and you're like so far away from land or something, like that's when I start getting really in my head. I could run out there in the night and jump in the water. That wouldn't really bother me, but definitely like you're out snorkeling, and you're out on some, boat that dropped you off and you're like, 100 yards away from that boat and you're like, start thinking about like how, like I can't very quickly like get back to safety,
I don't know why I don't think about that.
Yeah.
Like I'll be in a lake and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to step on a piece of glass. Like somebody was drinking here and they smashed bottles, or like I'm going to step on a turtle and the turtle is going to be all bummed out.
Yeah.
I don't think about the things that I should be worried about. Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's just this weird thing, but I've been trying to talk myself into going on a cruise because I don't know, something about it like kind of sounds fun. Like you could take one through the Caribbean and go to like 5 or 6 different islands or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have this huge anxiety about being in a boat where I can't see land. I've never been in a boat where I can't see land.
Oh no, if you go on a cruise, you're not going to have any anxiety. I promise you.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you're going to have on a cruise.
Just a hangover and that's it.
You're going to be fine. I've actually only been on one cruise. And it was in Alaska. And so there's tons of waves. The boat's rocking everywhere. It rained every single day. And it was like in the 40s the entire time. But it was awesome. Like we just looked out the window and could see like whales jumping out of the water. And we stopped in all sorts of cool places. It was on my honeymoon. But I said the next time I go on a cruise, I'm going to do like the stereotypical one. Like it's going to be in the Caribbean or something, because being on the boat is cool.
Yeah. My wife wants to do the Alaska cruise. That's the one we were talking about doing. So that's interesting that you had that perspective. It's so beautiful up there.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw big old whales and stuff?
Yeah, I have it on video. I looked out into the distance and there's like literally whales like breaching the surface, like a whole pod of orcas, which I know orcas are not technically whales, but they're technically big old dolphins. But but it was awesome nonetheless. And or nevertheless. And
don't worry, they'll correct you in the comments, man.
I know, yeah. when you're not writing, you don't get a chance to correct yourself, and you're just talking. But another thing that's awesome about, and I know this is probably not good for you because you're trying to behave yourself, but like the food, it's like they have all these restaurants on the boat, and it's like, oh, it's 5:30, like it's starting to get to be dinner time. Let's go to that awesome like buffet with awesome food everywhere. And so yeah, it all comes back to the food.
Yeah, and that is the fun part about being on vacation, right? Is just letting loose, regardless of if it's like food or beer or whatever it is. It's just fun, right?
Oh yeah.
I went to Jamaica like 2 weeks ago or something like that, and Katie and I got married while we were there, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, which is pretty rad. But we've been together forever, so
I just figured you guys were married already.
Yeah, we've been together for like 12 years. I think we were engaged engaged. I had to look it up on Facebook. We were engaged for like 8 years. It was just not like high on the priority list. And so anyways, while we were there though, you know, you get into that habit. It's probably the same way that you were explaining food, but for me, it's more like beer. It's like we ate breakfast. You walk over to the beach and you're like, I'll have a beer. I mean, it's 9, you know, and you come back to the real world and you're like, okay, well, now I have to wash my own dishes and I can't drink at 9 o'clock in the morning anymore and be, you know, still productive with my life. So here we are.
For the last decade, I have not been on vacation very often, like almost never.
Yeah.
There was my honeymoon, and then every other time I travel, it was for something related to the channel. And some of those trips were awesome, but it wasn't vacation because you're still on. You still have all these things that you need to accomplish while you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And then just recently, I went out to Lake Lure, which is just like a lake 45 minutes from me. And we rented a house out there. We rented a pontoon boat, took the little tyke out on the lake, like just had an awesome time. And I got to do that more often, even just for the weekend.
Yeah.
Getting old.
I tend to do the same thing as you. And I don't take very many actual vacations, you know, and a lot of times they're just like weekend kind of things, but they're usually revolving around something else. Katie travels a lot for work. So sometimes we'll go, you know, I'll tag along where she's going or something like that. So it's kind of like a mini thing, but to actually go and just like unplug for a few days and, you know, not post to social media and just be people, it's really valuable. And I don't know if it's just getting older, you start to recognize it or what, you know?
Well, you as you get older, you look back on your life and you're like, okay, so I was doing all that work and I was doing all that work. Like, when do I get to just live in the moment?
Yeah.
You know, and instead of like, I guess, I don't know, accruing work or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look back and you're like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. And so I'm starting, especially now that I have a baby daughter, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm really starting to look at that. I'm like, wait, now is definitely the time I'm supposed to be living in the moment and just enjoying my life and cashing in on all of the work that I've done. Like if I can, you know, figure out a way to make it work to take an extra day off, now is the time to do it. Like while she's little. And I never thought that way. I always just felt guilty.
Yeah.
Going on vacation.
You'll hear it a million times, and the only way that you'll understand it is when you're there, but it goes by unbelievably fast with them being small.
I know.
My son is in his 20s now, and
God.
you know, kind of along the same lines of what you were just talking about. He's been saving all kinds of money. Like when I was his age, I just like I was frivolous with money and like just all about the moment. Like, hey, let's go to Berlin. Right on, let's do it. You know, didn't have any like means of savings to me. And
But did you regret it?
No, I don't personally,
Yeah.
but some people would. And it definitely wouldn't have like hurt me any if I could have like at least like curbed some of the spending and maybe like was a little bit more financially responsible. But what I was telling him, like he's the polar opposite, where he's like he's got this huge nest egg saved, and I'm telling him, you know, while we were down in Jamaica, I was like, look, dude, you have to like live a little bit. Like you can't put everything away for this time in the future, because I've seen people not make it to that time, you know? And
no, that's true.
You know, I've seen a handful of people that I've worked with through my professional career that retire and die like within a year of retirement. And it's like,
you hear about that so much.
Yeah, what the fuck, you know? Like,
yeah, you hear about that, and yeah, it just happens. I don't. Yeah, you got to live a little bit. You got to do some stuff, and so I'm starting to recognize that, and trying to plan little trips and get out. I think the last couple of years were really freaky too, and even if you wanted to travel, sometimes it wasn't so possible. And yeah, we can kind of move out of that now and enjoy life.
Yeah. So in the comments over here, I don't know if you're watching them or not. You don't need to, but I don't usually pull up many of the comment questions, but Evan's MTB saga just can't. He's just losing his shit about this. So and it goes along with what we're saying. So he's like asking, "What's your retirement plan with the YouTube journey?"
So I don't have plans. I just seize opportunities. Now, that's not to say that so like right now I'm 37. I don't need to retire. And I plan to work as long as I can work, but I'm constantly building assets that will give me a return so that I can work less and less, or so that I can rely on working less and less. Like the ranger station was a big one. I've got a couple of other projects like that kind of going on in the background that people will eventually know about. And I'm always diversifying how I make a living. And I'm actually doing a little bit of consulting on the side, just to kind of get back into it and keep it alive. So
like the IT web consulting stuff that you used to do, or
no,
YouTube stuff?
no.
Like, what kind of consulting are we talking about here?
No, nothing like that. I can get more into that another time, but
Gotcha. No problem.
But yeah, but I'm never complacent. Like I never just, oh, this is going great, let me just keep doing this. I always try to do something else, and I'm always looking at ways to like I still drive a Honda, right? Like I'd rather buy a house that I can rent out or something, or a things that can help build for the future. So my retirement plan, I don't have a pension or anything like that. It's going to have to be real estate. It's going to have to be real estate that generates income. That's the only way I can do it. Maybe there are other ways, just amass enough funds, but I don't know. The stock market's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I guess over the course of 10 years, it's usually pretty good, but it kind of scares the crap out of me. The thing about a house is it can fluctuate in value tremendously, but somebody will always rent it, or rent it on Airbnb, or you can sell it and cash out on it. It's just, it's an asset class that I really understand. And I feel like just because there are other ways that you can do it, like, cryptocurrency, we saw how that worked out. I just like to do things that I understand, and real estate makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
You're buying a piece of the earth.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I can say that in my lifetime, I've made a boatload of money on real estate, but I've also lost a bunch on real estate too. So,
but you can totally do that.
Yeah. But in the long run, for the most part, I mean, it's just like what you said. I mean, it at the very least, I very seldomly does your house like lose a lot of value from what you paid for it. Aside from what happened in 2007 or whatever, that, when everything kind of fell apart. And, I think with that being said, typically you'd at least be able to sell your house for like what you paid for it, and whatever amount of time that you've been making payments, you would at least get that back in profit. And that's the way I've always looked at it,
And when it comes to the house you live in, I never get really hung up on what the value of the house is, because you can live in the freaking thing.
Yeah.
Right? There's no other investment you can live in. So if you think what could you rent your house out for? If your mortgage payment is less than that, then you're coming out on top. And then eventually someday you stop paying for it. Right. It gets paid off, and you just, or if you, bought the house, if you're lucky enough to buy a whole house for cash, which I'm not, but if you're paying less than you would to rent it, then you're on top. If the house goes down to half value, who cares? You're still doing okay. So you don't even look at it.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. And for the most part, even the house, like the home that I lost money on was during that, when everything went downhill. And because of life, I decided a bankruptcy was the right thing to do at the time. And so it honestly, it really worked out. But that house I paid like over $500,000 for, and it was selling for I think whenever it went to auction, it sold for like less than 200,000. But
in California?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the person that got that?
Yeah, right. They're stoked.
They're super stoked, right?
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
it's 10 years since it's been what, 13, 14,
But
like
what I
16
can say,
years since that, right?
right. But what I can say is if I would have just kept the house anyway and just like decided to stay and been like, hey, man, I paid it. That's what happened. That house is worth that and probably more again. So it would have played out. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of whether you have the time for that, you know? And so, but yeah, it's definitely interesting, you know, like to think about. I put money into like retirement from like my job.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really put a whole lot of thought into like how things are going to play out in retirement. And maybe I'm just naive, but like what I'm putting into my retirement fund is going to be plenty fine. But like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't really get too hung up on it because it just seems to work out for people. Like, how many people do you know in your family that got to like 65 and were like, oh my God, I'm broke? You know, like,
Yeah, it does work out for people, but because they adjust their lifestyle to meet where they're at. Like, if
right.
you don't plan for it, you're living in California and you have a house and everything. And then when you're retired, you're like, well, okay, I've got to just move to the cheapest place possible that where like the supermarket's like 30 minutes away and hunker down. You know, I want to be able to do stuff in my retirement. Like I do save. Save. Probably not as good as your son does. When I was 22, 23, I wasn't saving money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that I kind of just always think to myself that where I'm at right now with the house that I have, more than likely it's get to retirement age, sell this house, leave the state, and then use the equity from this to buy another house. And then everything that I've put into my retirement will work out to be like plenty of spending money to like do whatever the hell I want to do. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's perfect then.
Yeah. But like, I guess
whatever the hell you want to do, you're winning.
Right. But I don't feel like I don't live like a life that needs to be like really expensive. Like I'd be super stoked if I lived somewhere where I'm just like able to go mountain biking every weekend. And you know what I mean? Like it's not totally. Like some people have this idea of retirement where they're like, you know, globetrotting and this and that and the other, and just, you know, living some kind of more lavish life. And honestly, I don't really need a really big house. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Honestly, if I have my wits about me, I'm never going to retire. Like I might stop doing one thing and start doing another thing. And maybe I can't foresee like how I'm going to think in like my 80s or hopefully my 90s. But like, it just seems like, okay, if I have a bunch of time, it's like, I'm going to start some kind of project. Yeah. I don't think I'm the type of person to stop working. I just love working. So
I agree with you there. I mean, you know, pretty much we cannot start talking at the same time again, right?
Yeah. With that slight delay.
Right? Yeah.
It's enough to get caught up. No, I think like, honestly, like what I would really enjoy if I was retired is like if I had some rental properties, just going for, you know, mow the lawn, fix the faucet, patch some drywall, just staying busy. It's like, it's like good for you.
I think that's the secret to getting old, man. Is just like I don't know any old people that just watch TV all day and that's like live to be 95. You know, they're like, if you're 95, you're also like yesterday on your roof, like changing the roofing tiles or something. You know what I mean? Like you never hear these like 95-year-old people. They're just like, yeah, I've been sitting on my couch smoking cigarettes, watching soap operas for the last 35 years. You know, like,
yeah, or maybe you just don't hear from those people because they're on the couch on the cigarettes.
Right. That could be it. That totally could be it, man. So who knows? I was going to ask you, so you got that Cricut a while ago, or you didn't get the Cricut, you got the other sticker making machine. What's that one called?
I forgot what it's called. I should
Anyway,
have gotten the Cricut.
so
But
how did that play out? Was it just like a purely a video idea, or was it like, man, I think I would use this?
oh no, it was totally, I think I could use this, and I have. Like,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to be able to print labels for bikes on flip bikes so that when I'm restoring it, I can just scrape whatever's off of there and put something on there. But this machine is really, it's got a really bad software. I don't think the machine is that bad, but the software it's bad. And like, I know like maybe that's a harsh judgment, but like I've used a lot of software. This software is not even formatted right for the screen.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
You know, like all the text is all inconsistent with the OS and stuff. It's like, it's got all the red flags of just like hastily thrown together software. And it's really difficult to use. It's really inconsistent. It's got a lot of bugs and you got to restart it and do all sorts of workarounds to make it work. But I figured it out. And so now I can make stickers. It's kind of cool. But I'm still dialing it in. Like, the problem is that it usually like a month or so will go between times that I make stickers. And so there's things that I've got to like figure out again. Where did I put the paper? Oh, is this blade dull? I got to go and get another one. But yeah, and it's not good for like mass making stickers.
Yeah, no, definitely not under that. I ended up buying the Cricut right around the same time that you did. And man, that was a rabbit hole.
How do you like the Cricut?
I honestly, I like it. My only complaint, and this is probably trivial, but it's my biggest complaint, is that I can't design in Illustrator to size and open that in the Cricut software and it be to size.
Oh, you mean it automatically like scales or something?
Yeah, it has like it won't, it doesn't scale it right. So like,
okay, so what if you started a document at 8.5 by 11, 300 DPI or something, and then centered it exactly where you wanted it, and then imported that whole document into the Cricut software?
I mean, essentially what you're doing is what I was about to say is like, I think the workaround is like, you just know like, hey, I want this to be 4 inches. And when you put that in there, or you put something else in the image that is a certain scale, and then you can use like their software to make sure it's at the right size that you want it. But to me, it's like decals, for example. Let's say you have the Santa Cruz logo and you just want to cut it. Like if I had that in Illustrator and I open it up in there, like I have to resize it to make sure that it's perfect.
Oh man, that stinks.
It's kind of a drag that way, but otherwise I really enjoy having it. For me, I kind of bought it for the same reason as you. Like I do use Stickered to get the decals that I have on my bike that are all, professional and whatnot. But whenever I'm making stickers for the channel, or I'm, just want to like, sometimes like I do better when I can see things in person. So I can prototype it here and look at it and be stoked with how it is. And then I can send it to somewhere to get printed. You know what I mean? I enjoy that a lot.
Sticker Mule is just so easy. If you got to make a bunch of stickers and they come out so good.
Yeah.
You think we're boring everybody to death with the stickers?
I don't really care.
Yeah.
This is my podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, I like talking about stickers. I like geeking out about anything that we're like making or using,
So go ahead.
No, it's fun to go down those rabbit holes.
I think that's what keeps life interesting. Like, at least for me, I think it just really has to do with learning, because then I'm like, I have that thirst to try to figure that thing out. And once I figured out how to make stickers, then it was like, oh, I want to make shirts. So it's like, how do I do this vinyl? How to do that, and then, and you mentioned this on your channel, and this is what really the reason I mentioned it to start with, is I fell into the 3D printer. Like, it had to happen next.
You had no choice.
Yeah, it was just like, that was the path, man. And
I have held off.
I
Still.
purposely did not buy one for years because I knew how bad it was going to be. And so far I've been right.
Yeah, is it a huge time suck?
I think it's just, it's just like the Cricut was, but except for, okay, now you have to teach yourself how to do 3D modeling, because really, like, to me, having a 3D printer and just printing whatever the hell you can find on the internet, that's not the
Right.
reason I want it. I want it to like be like, oh, I want a bracket that holds this thing up exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so you have to learn how to 3D model, which, let's be honest, like, to get the basics and get yourself rolling, it probably didn't take me more than a week of like to really get myself to a point where I was like semi-proficient. You know what I mean? But the time suck for me though is then getting sucked into all the things that I want to make.
Sure. My main reason to get a 3D printer would be to print out creations from the audience, or, somebody from in the industry. I'm going to send you this thing, or, I could just tell somebody to make me something.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of people that are way better. Even if I could mess around with it and figure out how to do it, there are people way better at me that can make it. But what I found in talking to people who are into 3D printers, they're like, it's not that simple. It's not that simple, because they might be they have to design it for the printer that it's going to go on. They have to design it for the filament that you're going to use, and so there's going to be a pretty big learning curve when I start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do it right when I do it. I'm going to get a really, really good one that can make some durable stuff, because I got some weird things planned. The next year is going to be really weird and really fun.
Just, let's say, without maybe the spoiler, maybe you can throw something out there that you're not, planning some series around. What are some of the things that you have like toying around in your mind? For me, I had a couple. Go ahead.
No, I'm sponsorless now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can do whatever the hell I want. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, let's start there. So I don't have a sponsor anymore. Obviously, like, if I really wanted to, I could find somebody else to sponsor me. We've had quite a few companies reach out, and I said, you know what? Not yet. This is the first time in years that I can do. I've been writing the same geometry in the same frame for since I think 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's time I get that out there and experiment with things. And people have asked me, do you want to do bike reviews? Hell no. So the thing with bike reviews is, but I have an idea. So the thing with bike reviews is that they're only interesting to the people who are looking for that bike. So let's say the journalist that's doing the bike review has to ride that bike for several weeks or several months to really get a feel for it, for that to feel like their bike, to give it a good review.
Right.
And then they have to basically make up crap. Like, it feels really composed into corners. This year they went with a half a degree steeper on the head angle, and it really makes it handle better at lower speeds. It's so dry. Nobody wants to watch that. And so, nobody wants to watch it except for the person that's looking for that bike. And to that person, that it's going to be valuable. But that person, it's like everybody's a different size. Everybody's a different shape. Everybody has a different riding style. It's still like not that useful. To me, the useful things are, how much does it cost? What does it come with? What kind of value is it compared to other bikes in its price range? Is the company easy to deal with? Warranties? Does it look sick?
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that's what everybody really wants to know. And you can learn that by going to a trade show or a mountain bike festival and demoing bikes. So I want to do demos on the channel, not reviews, demos. The first time I sit on the bike is the first time the audience is going to see me sit on the bike, and we're going to get into trouble with it. And I'm not going to review normal bikes. I wouldn't do that.
Right.
There's super weird bikes out there. The bike's either got to be like 15 grand or like $150, or have something really unique or weird about it.
Yeah.
And we're trying to line up a bunch of just really weird things. And I'm going to have fun with it. I'm just going to at least go sponsorless for at least a year.
Yeah.
And see how it works out. And I'm even considering going with sponsors outside the bike industry, like just doing normal YouTube ads, like at the end of the video, because then I'm not working with anybody in the bike industry, and I can just do whatever. It seems like I'd be everybody's worst nightmare if I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, that's interesting to think about. I've thought about having non-bike specific sponsors for the podcast, because like when people listen to podcasts, they don't really care. But I don't know, like for some reason, and I can't really put words to it right now, but when I see like Squarespace on a mountain bike video, it doesn't necessarily, like, it doesn't feel like authentic to me. You know what I mean? Like it gives me some weird feeling about the creator. And
really?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe some of the people in the comment section can say something about it. But like for me, it's just like, but if I see them like, hey, they're sponsoring this, this video is sponsored by this bike company or whatever, I also have a certain amount of judgment to that as well. But it's not the same as the ones that are like completely like off topic, like
Sure.
And it could just be me. You know what I mean?
So I do know how you feel, because that's why it was easier for me to just have a bike sponsor. And having a bike sponsor, it allowed me to do a lot of things. I was traveling more, meeting different people. It legitimized me to some extent. But at the same time, like, sure, we have a lot of mountain bikers watching this right now, and a ton of mountain bikers watch my channel. But not everybody that watches mountain bikers. In fact, probably half of them aren't mountain bikers. Like, think about it. Think about TV. Like, I don't know. There's this show. I haven't watched TV in so long, but there was this show like Billy the Exterminator. I bet you that most of his audience wasn't exterminators.
Right.
And then there's like, so I aim to make bike videos that anybody can watch. And so it has that kind of audience. And maybe to some people it would feel weird if I was doing a different ad. And it certainly, like, there's a reason I don't usually put ads on my videos, is because I don't like doing it. I like to edit the video and publish it. I don't like to sit there and figure out how to work a sponsorship into it. And if I did, I would put it at the very end of the video so that you watch straight through and not get interrupted by the ad. But
yeah,
I have to find some companies whose products I actually like first.
Yeah.
So the search is going to take a while. I'm going to have to find some companies whose products I actually like, companies that I think are ethical. And then that'll give me the security to just do whatever the hell I want. And that to me makes the best content.
Yeah. Those are the companies that, or that's the way that I've looked at any kind of agreement with a brand at this point, is just like, would I be buying this if they weren't sending it to me for free? And then basically that's why, whether or not I want to like use their stuff, and otherwise it's not really interesting. It's not of interest to me. You know what I mean?
I can't count how many mobile phone games have reached out to me, and I'm just like, no. If you paid me to play this, I wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
I just, I don't even use social media outside of my job. Like, I don't even have a Facebook account really. So, or I don't actively use it. I've deleted all my friends from it. Like, I have it so that I could like look at Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
I don't have a personal Instagram account. If you're looking for it, you're not going to find it. I just have my, just Seth's Bike Hacks Instagram.
Once I started doing YouTube and like all the social that came along with it, I have personal accounts. I don't use them. I basically do what you do, is like use Marketplace, and every like 8 or 9 months, I'll like put a new picture on Instagram, it'll be like, otherwise I do enough social media with the channel that I don't really care to like be posting about my personal life, you know?
Yeah. I don't want anybody. I'm trying to get as much privacy as I can, like outside of the channel, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, social media is not my thing. But I want to do some really weird things with bikes and products, and I want to build my dream bikes too. I
Yeah.
haven't put much thought until now into what my dream bikes would be. People ask me, "Hey, if you weren't riding for Diamondback, what would you ride?" It's like I haven't really thought about it because they were so good to me, and I really like the bikes. I especially love the geometry. It just, especially my hardtail, like it really, really fits me. And I'm considering having a custom frame built
Mm-hmm.
by like a professional frame builder, and the geometry would be pretty similar to what I'm riding right now. I might go a little bit steeper on the head angle, like because my hardtail, I'm usually using my hardtail either for cross country, like any descent, like under 600 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm using it for Berm Peak. And even though Berm Peak seems like it's like boom, 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 hitting jumps, you're probably not going faster than 10 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
even over those jumps. So I want a bike that handles well at low to medium speeds, and is really light and easy to throw around. And so I want like a dream hardtail, like
Mm-hmm.
the actual best hardtail that I could possibly build.
Well, you should talk to
Um,
Hardtail Party about that, man. That guy is on a different hardtail like every other day.
he loves hardtails.
Yeah. But the thing I was going to ask you is, are you like a numbers guy? You always look at the geometry, like the degree,
No,
head tube angle, and
so
stuff like
I'm
that.
not. I'm not. I don't super geek out. But if you're gonna have a custom frame built, you kind of have to geek out. I know my way around a bike. You know, I can tell you what I like. There were a couple of ready-made frames I was looking at, and I was like, oh no, the reach is too long. You know, I know what I ride and what to compare to it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but you can go really deep on that stuff.
Well,
You know,
the main reason I was asking is that, and I have a friend that's like that really like looks at the numbers a lot, but I can tell you, I've been extremely surprised by some bikes that number wise, geo wise, I would have never thought that I would enjoy. And just because I rode it because of whatever happenstance, I was really blown away. So I think what I'm getting at is kind of what you said earlier is about demo and stuff, is like really just go out and try some stuff that maybe
yes,
doesn't even make sense. Because if I were you and I was even thinking about like, oh, this is the frame that I want to build, I would still say go out and try a bunch of other stuff, because man, you might just get your like your mind blown by something that's not even what you would expect that you would enjoy. You know what I mean?
yeah, I'm gonna do a lot more demoing, and I'm gonna do a lot of the demoing on the channel.
Yeah.
So, but I have to make it interesting for everyone because, like I said, not everybody who watches rides mountain bikes,
Yeah.
and not everybody who watches wants to like super geek out. So if I'm going to geek out on something, it's going to be on something really weird and interesting, like
that
like I
one
think
bike that has that crazy suspension system. It looks like a praying mantis, all like, you know.
exactly that. Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly that. And
There's that Nikolai too. I just saw that coming out of Eurobike. It's been all over the Instagram today, and it has the well, first of all, it's a high pivot, and the chain's like 6 miles long. But the thing that really caught my eye was that the derailleur is actually like tucked up into the frame, so it doesn't hang below. And that's kind of one of those things that I personally feel like the derailleur is like the worst component on a bike right now, just because it doesn't
yeah,
make any
it's just
sense.
so
Let's go ride through a bunch
vulnerable.
of rocks and let this thing hang off the side down close
I
to the rock.
know
You know, like,
that will be interesting to
yeah.
see how they improve that over the years.
I mean, one easy way would be, okay, well, like the pinion stuff, you know, the gearbox is going to take off.
Efficiency. You always
Yeah.
lose efficiency. It's got heavy components and there's tons of spinning weight and resistance, and the derailleur is still super efficient.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait till they figure out a gearbox or something that works out. The bikes are going to be so much more. That's why I love single speed bikes. I just
Yeah.
can't. I don't have the type of fitness where I could ride a single speed bike where I live.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the climbs are too long. So I would either be stuck in a really low gear or stuck in a really high gear. And neither works.
Have you tried it?
Oh yeah, I love single speeds. Well, when I lived in Florida for a minute, I rode a single speed for a while, and I own a single speed here. I built one up, and it's great to ride here because I can just hike up 100 feet and
Mm-hmm.
take it down. But like, you can't go on a real ride with it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, like, some people who ride single speed bikes are monsters. And they'll tell you, like, you'll be in a conversation with them for 5 minutes. You just met them, and they'll tell you they ride a single speed,
Yeah.
because it proves how badass they are.
Yeah.
But
It's like the CrossFit of mountain biking, right?
but like a lot of these people who ride single speeds, like if you really see them on a ride, like they're doing a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
There's just stuff you can't get up on a single speed, but the
Yeah.
simplicity is just so sick. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people would ask, why would you ever have a single speed? Like, why on earth would you ever have one? They're so much fun. Same thing with a hardtail. It's fun. It's low maintenance. There's no ghost shifting. You never skip. Like, nothing ever goes wrong with it. It just works perfectly all the time. You just beat the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So,
I have one that I use for like road riding. It's pretty flat around here. And that was one of the nice things, was like I never had to worry about any kind of maintenance with that kind of stuff. It was like, dude, I think I probably put over 2,000 miles on that bike before I even thought about changing the chain. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just crazy, you know?
Still works. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just insane. So it'll be interesting to see what bike you end up on when, like, honestly, I mean, the sky's the limit for you at this point. So
I know. Like, honestly, I don't feel like I need a new bike. All my bikes work great, but I have to keep the content interesting. And for my own education, riding different stuff and getting used to different stuff is going to be really important to do. And so I am going to have a new trail bike pretty soon, just to try something different. Also kind of nice to have a bottle cage inside the triangle.
but you're short, so you might not. Yeah, that might be a problem no matter what.
I know, like, there's even some bikes where there's bottle cages inside the triangle, and then in the small size, it like hits into the shock or something.
Yeah.
I've seen that so many times, and it's a bummer. But I'm determined to have a water bottle inside the cage, because I like to leave with nothing. I have all my tools stashed in the frame, stuff tied to it, and just be totally free. That's how I like it.
I didn't know that was going to happen to me, but it has happened to me over the last few years. I bought this hardtail a while back, and right around then I kind of did that thing where I dumped the Camelback. I didn't want to wear the fanny pack, and it is like a last ditch effort to like actually bring the hip pack, or I can't even remember the last time I put a Camelback on, but it has to be like, hey, we're going super remote and you need a lot of water, and like, because I've definitely like gotten very very creative with how I'm carrying water,
Yeah, I mean, out there, you really gotta be on your water game strong. If I'm going on a really long ride and I can't get around just using a water bottle, like hydrating like crazy and then just conserving water and getting through the ride, then I've got my next option is to wear a hip pack.
Yeah.
And I can stash some water in there. You could also just throw a water bottle in your diaper, just pull back your chamois and just stuff a water bottle in there, and then you have two. I'd rather do all of that than wear a backpack. I just hate a backpack.
I have one of those those Lab Oster hip packs so that you can drop the water bottles in there. So I put 2 in there, and I can put 2 on my bike, and that's almost as much water as what's in the big like, I don't know what size that is, the big Camelback bladder, whatever that is, the 100 milliliter or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's big.
That's been pretty good for me. But more often than not, I'm trying to figure out how to not wear the hip pack. And I did, like you said, I bought one of those 1-Up pumps and the tool, and I have the mount on both my bikes, so I can just move the pump back and forth. And surprisingly, because I used to be one of those guys like Brian that carried like everything in his bag.
I know. I'd rather just every once in a while be screwed.
Yeah, and I've been surprised like how well I've made out without all that other crap. Like I don't know how many pounds of shit I carried around for like 10 years that I never used. And now it's like, every once in a while you're like, well, I guess we're screwed. So,
Yeah, we're screwed. So we're on an adventure now. Well, you know what you start to do is you start to just run a little bit heavier tires, and the weight goes elsewhere, but I'd rather it there than straps around my back and stuff. It just throws me off. But yeah, you run a little bit heavier tires, you check your bike out a little bit better, and then things like master links you can stow in your bike. I have that little Dakine Hot Laps gripper, and I have an inner tube, 2 CO2s, a spare derailleur hanger, a poop in the woods kit. I stuff all that stuff in there and like have it down really efficient. I should just like show everything I have in there one day. It's pretty.
Yeah.
There's almost never a situation I can't get out of with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the tube strap, like the tube strap with the tube and some bigger like ATV size tire plugs. And then I have the 1-Up pump. I prefer to have the pump just because I've had too many instances where it's like, oh, you used your CO2 and then like an hour later you still need it again. And then you're like,
I know.
So like, I always felt like I needed to have a pump, that way I have like an endless supply of air. You know what I mean?
It is. But like anybody who's used a hand pump out on the trail, it's like, oh, especially if you have to like seat a tire or something.
Yeah, well, that would suck.
It really sucks. I don't disagree with you though. It is good to have an endless supply of air. Like if I have to bring a bunch of cameras with me, there's no way around it. I got to wear the Camelback, and then I just have a little pump in there.
Yeah.
But it stinks. So if you have 2 CO2s, you fix the flat with the plug, and if you don't have enough air, you can add a little bit with the CO2. And then if you're really screwed, then you got to put the inner tube in. And then you use that CO2 to pump it back up, and then it's not going to fail.
Yeah.
Until it fails.
Yeah, until you're like pinch the tire trying to get the tube in there, and then, or pinch the tube trying to put the tire on, and then you're like,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their everybody has their own like risk tolerance and what they feel is more important, and so
yeah.
But ultimately, I think the ability of wearing a shirt and not having my back all super sweaty and feeling that thing like throwing around, like I never thought I would come to a day where I don't wear Camelbacks, and now I'm like polar opposite. Like I'm like, how could I like go the rest of my life without not having to wear one again?
I know. Well, when I was a kid and I rode BMX, it was like you get off of school, you put your backpack down, you get on the BMX. Like I dressed like a BMXer. Like I had my BMX shoes on all day at school. I had like a T1 shirt or something on. Like I was dressed exactly the way I was going to go riding. I didn't change. And didn't have a cell phone. It's just I just put my backpack down, got on my bike, and left the house. And I don't even think they invented helmets back in those days, like 2001.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm just a few years older than you, but it was similar. I mean, there was like one guy probably in my whole freaking school that wore a helmet, and everybody was like, what's wrong with that dude? And it was like, his parents makes him wear it because he got hit by a car once, like.
It sucks that back in those days, people would actually make fun of people with
Oh
helmets.
yeah.
But when did they start? When did professional road cycling start requiring helmets? Wasn't it like 2002 or something?
I have no idea. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell us. But
Maybe somebody in the comments can Google
Yeah.
it. I do have the pop-out chat over here.
Yeah.
Just in case we need it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, growing up when we grew up, it just wasn't a thing, I remember whenever I got into mountain biking, the guy that was an older guy got me into it. And he was like, when you ride mountain bikes, you wear a helmet. So I like always wore a helmet riding mountain bikes, but I would go the next day BMX, doing huge jumps and all kinds of stupid shit, no helmet. And it was like when I mountain bike, I always wore a helmet. And it even took me a long time until one day it dawned on me that, wow, when I'm skiing, I'm going like 60 miles an hour down an icy hill. And like when I wipe out, I slide for 50 yards. I should probably wear a helmet there too. It wasn't like bred into our DNA for the age that, for when we grew up to wear helmets.
No, it wasn't like, well, now there's this element of like shaming.
Yeah.
If you don't wear a helmet, you get chastised.
Oh yeah, you're 100% the opposite now.
Yeah. Yeah, you totally get chastised, which there was back in our day. If you wore a helmet, you didn't get chastised, but it would be like, oh yeah, this guy's got a helmet on. Right. I don't recall ever making fun of anybody for wearing helmets, but I remember people getting made fun of for it, like especially in BMX, because it was like of course we had helmets when we rode BMX, because if you went to a skate park, especially if it was like a paid skate park, an indoor skate park, the helmets were required, and so you had to own one. Yeah. And so we all had skate helmets, but
see, all my friends all rode like street, so we never. Yeah. There was no skate park where I grew up.
Or like if I lived in a city right now and I was riding around the city, I wouldn't have a helmet on. Yeah. Because I don't look at, like, unless you're going really fast, like road biking, like if you're just cruise, like on a beach cruiser or something, just cruising around the park or just getting somewhere, I don't look at it as much more dangerous than walking. Like, yeah, honestly,
I mean, you'd be surprised though, man. Like,
I know, but here's the argument that people use. They're like, oh, well, it takes 2 seconds to put the helmet on. What's wrong with that? Well, what if you get hit by a car? It's like, okay, so let's say that to every pedestrian in the whole city. It takes 2 seconds to put what if you cross the street at the bus stop and you get hit? You can just put the helmet on before you walk to work. There's always a level of safety that's higher than where you're at. And I'm not saying you shouldn't wear a helmet. Like if you legitimately commute to work in New York City, you're going fast. You're trying to keep up with traffic. You're weaving between cars. You should have a freaking helmet on, or you're asking for it. But riding around a park, riding next to the beach, right? You live in a little subdivision and you're riding around to your neighbors. Like, you don't need. I wouldn't. I'm not going to say you should. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same ballpark as you. I mean, if like the lady and I are going to go down to the 4th of July parade and ride our bikes, we're not putting our helmets on,
Okay, here's the answer here. In the United States, or I guess probably Europe, May 5th, 2005 was when they required helmets in professional road cycling. I guess and then somebody else said that in New Zealand, it was from like the early 90s they had to wear helmets. I guess they were smarter.
They're smarter,
but everybody else, because like I guess everywhere else they were like, it saves weight and it makes you more aerodynamic when you don't have a helmet on. Of course,
I remember there was like at a certain point there was a law that it was like anybody under 18 had to have a helmet on, and I remember I was already over 18 at that point, because I remember thinking, man, that would have sucked after, like, because I still had that mentality that of like when we grew up, but. The helmets now, man, switching over to that, like they are like crazy comfortable compared to the ones back in the day, though.
Helmets are awesome now. And that's the other thing is back in those days, helmets were terrible.
Yeah.
They weren't selling as many of them because you didn't have to wear them. But now helmets are incredible. And like they're expensive, but like, don't save money on a helmet.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to want to wear, then you're going to be bummed out about wearing it. Get one that's light and breathes well and is comfortable. Like, get the perfect helmet. Because mountain biking is gnarly.
Yeah.
And road biking is really gnarly.
Yeah, those guys can really get cooking on there, that's for sure.
They can get cooking, and they're like basically riding right next to cars. It's not like taking a little stroll in the park at 5 miles an hour. But man, I've smashed my head worse just doing everyday activities on my feet than on my bike.
So
it always happens that way, right?
Right, totally. Let me ask you this then, because we've already established that we kind of both came up in the not so much helmet days.
Yeah.
I have been trying to make this really conscious effort on wearing a full face in situations where I should probably be wearing a full face. However, it's really hard for me to determine when I'm actually supposed to be wearing a full face. Because in my mind, it's always like, oh no, that's for whenever it's like really, really, really serious, quote unquote. For those of you listening, that air quotes came out.
You don't look at it. The way you should be making those calculations is through sheer probability. So think of it this way: we've all considered you're at a downhill park hitting jumps and going down gnarly tech trails, and you're wearing a full face helmet, not a Fox Pro frame, a big heavy full face helmet, because you know the risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go out with some friends and you pedal up to one of your local trails, and you're going down a really technical section. You're like, this is every bit as dangerous as the downhill park. Why am I not wearing a full face helmet right now?
That's what I've been struggling with.
Here's the calculation. At the downhill park, you do it 25 times that day.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to climb. And so you damn well should be wearing a full face helmet, because there's no excuse not to. On that one ride, you're not riding like you've been at a downhill park. You haven't done enough laps to grow complacent. And you're also not running the risk of dying of heat stroke. And so you have to balance that stuff out. So when you're at a downhill park, you're just rolling the dice too many times. You're going to strike out eventually. And so you got to have the helmet on. And if you're racing, you are throwing caution to the wind. And so you should be wearing a full face.
What's like one of the longest downhill runs that's by where you're at?
I don't know exact numbers. I think there are a few in the southern Appalachians, or as they say here, Appalachians, that are over 3,000 feet continuous.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely here that are well between 2,000, 3,000 feet.
So what about mileage though? Is that 5 miles,
I don't know. I always think of just vertical. I don't know mileage, but they're pretty long. Some of them are pretty long.
I think the reason that I ask is because out here we have a lot of really long downhill runs, so I could be doing a ride in Tahoe that I'm going to descend for 9 miles, and
that's long.
That's where I'm like, should I have a full face on? You know what I mean? That is, it's not a bike park, but man, that's that's a considerable amount of time of going downhill. Or Downeyville, for example, that's almost, I think it's 14 miles of downhill.
So what is your opinion on climbing a fire road with no cars on it and having your full face helmet dangling off your handlebars? You're pedaling uphill at 2.5, 3 miles an hour, but you're not going to wear the full face during that.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one I have behind me is it's not a downhill rated helmet.
But it could keep your teeth from getting knocked out.
Yeah. And that, when I wear that and climb, it doesn't I can't really tell a difference between wearing that and a half lid, other than it's slightly warmer, right? I'd be bullshitting if I said it was exactly just as cool as a half lid, right? But it's pretty damn close. I will say that the main reason that I almost never take my helmet off when I'm climbing the same thing that you just explained is because out here we have these fucking pine cones that are like a foot long. And I've seen one come down and hit somebody's like front tire, and like they just fall out of the tree sometimes, and you're like, dude, I do not want to get hit by one of them.
You guys have some gnarly pine cones for sure.
Yeah, we do. So otherwise, like every once in a blue moon, I'll take my helmet off because I'm like, it's just too freaking hot. But for the most part, I almost always leave it on.
I don't even take my knee pads off when I'm climbing.
But
if I have, my knee pads are actually really comfortable, and I don't ride without knee pads now. I like strictly always put on knee pads, and it took me a while to get to that point, but I just smashed my knees so many times that like if I show up someplace and I don't have my knee pads, I'll drive all the way home.
Yeah, but you feel naked.
But if I have a full face on and I'm gonna do like a long climb, like an hour and a half, 2 hour climb, I'm hanging it off of my handlebars if it's a full face. Yeah. Like it's just, unless it's a technical climb.
Yeah.
With some ups and downs and stuff. But like, a fire road, like you're just basically winding up a fire road and you're going walking speed. But I don't know I'm sure different people have different feelings about that.
Yeah.
But my feeling is I don't care what anybody else does, but
yeah, me neither, man. I teach their own. Like even people that don't want to wear a helmet. It's like, I might think that's stupid, but dude, it's your life. You can do whatever you want with it, man. Like I don't really feel like it's my place to tell somebody else how to live their life. I can have an opinion about it. You know what I mean?
I feel the same way, but to play devil's advocate, I see why it does affect other people.
Yeah.
It gives a place a bad name. It makes mountain bikers look irresponsible, or like, or now they get hurt out in the woods and now rescue personnel have to come out and save somebody that didn't, that could have avoided it. But yeah, I think it's pretty rare I see somebody out on mountain bike trails without a helmet. It's very rare.
Very seldomly. Yeah.
Where you see that is like really easy to access, like touristy mountain bike trails.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not really a mountain biker that's there. It's somebody that took their bike kind of off the path. But a real place that takes some doing to get there. They
have a Walmart bike, but they're not a YouTuber.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So if you could go anywhere and ride something, like, do you have any kind of like bucket list place? I recently, when I was in Jamaica, I rode while I was there. I wanted to ride there for a long time.
Was it awesome?
It was awesome for the experience. It wasn't awesome like epic
just
trails.
To take it off.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of places in British Columbia that I haven't even scratched the surface in British Columbia, and like everybody just raves about it. It's amazing. And I still have not been to Europe on a bicycle. Like I don't even know where the hell I would start. And now I have a freaking 16-month-old, and so there goes that for a while. But but I wanna get out everywhere and see all these places. I think that British Columbia is really easily accessible to me. It's actually not much closer to me than Europe, but speak the same language, and I know people there, and I have some ties up there, so it does make it a little bit easier. I really want to get up to Quebec City too. Brian raves about that place.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's one of the best spots in North
America. I
would
think if anybody has a really good opinion on where to ride in the world, he's probably one of the number one people. Like I would put he probably has more riding experience than like most pros that get like flown around doing videos. You know what I mean?
He has an incredible amount of riding experience, and then he has an incredible amount of experience as a mountain biker. So like of being prepared, traveling with your bike, riding a new trail for the first time, riding with new people, like every experience you could have as a mountain biker, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who has more experience than Brian. Eric Porter is another one with crazy amounts of experience like that. Like he's like ridden in the Himalayas. He's ridden at like, 20,000 feet, like hiking his bike like over volcanoes and stuff. I mean, just nutty experiences.
Yeah.
Like on the border of like Pakistan and India, like just nutty. Right, where like you start to see the guys standing there with the guns, and you're like, okay, let's ride this direction.
Yeah, we're close enough to that border.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's such a chill guy too, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Eric is super chill.
Yeah, I talked to him at I think it was Sedona last time, and we were talking about getting back on the podcast, and yeah, he's definitely got a lot of experience that it's just, you know, it makes you like think, man, what would that be like to have those kind of experiences, you know?
I know. Yeah, he is an adventurer. He's and he's been a professional rider to some degree since he was in his early 20s.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for the better part of 20 years. As a slopestyle rider, and as a mountain biker. And it's actually not so, before YouTube came around, it wasn't so common for somebody to make their living off of riding a bike without racing.
Yeah.
Unless you were, without being in competitions, races included. And Eric was kind of in that situation before he even did YouTube, because he was riding for Diamondback, helping them do media, organizing trips, and he was also helping develop bikes, putting his input on geometry and stuff. That's why I would like those bikes so much, is because the slopestyle rider, you know, helped design them. You know, make sure they're really fun to jump off of stuff with. And he's really a unique individual in that way, like the arrangements that he's had in the bike industry for so long.
Yeah. That's, I didn't ever think about mountain biking whenever I went places before I started my YouTube channel. And maybe like I would like go somewhere and, you know, you would be driving down the road and you'd be like, oh, wow, I wonder if there's some trails there, you know, like something like that. Yeah, I would think of. But after I started my channel is whenever it would be like, hey, we're going to go to, I don't know, Idaho for this thing. It'd be like, oh, I'm going to bring my bike and try to like film some ride there or something like that. And it really like has like now made me feel like whenever I'm going somewhere, like that's actually something that I want to be part of my trip, because you really experience a place in a whole different light when you're there on a bike. So like that Jamaica thing was like, dude, I rode my bike through a freaking jungle, like in a, like we were using a taxi cab as a shuttle vehicle where you like take your wheels off and put it in the back, and then they drive you up some dirt road and drop you off somewhere else. And it was like, this is rad. You know, this is like such a cool experience, you know?
So speaking of traveling places on a mountain bike, over the last decade or so, there have been a lot of really big changes to how you do that. Yeah. And like trail forks and apps like Trail Forks, like basically crowdsourced mapping, which I guess Trail Forks not really.
Yeah,
it's still sort of crowdsourced, but now they're charging all the people that they crowdsource it from. But which is, you know, but it's had a huge effect. I had a
2-hour podcast on that a couple of weeks ago. You can go listen to that.
I'll go and listen to that. Yeah. So YouTubers get, either you could call it credited or blamed for influencing mountain bike travel. Like, oh, these trails are blown up now, or hey, this town's got tons of trails and funding now because people are traveling here. You can go either way, bad for better or worse. What do you think has had more of an effect on that? YouTubers or Trail Forks and apps like Trail Forks?
I feel like apps like Trail Forks have more of an influence than YouTubers do, because there's a lot of people that you talk to that mountain bike that don't really like watch.
Totally. But everybody uses Trail Forks. If you go someplace you've never been before, you have no other option. What are you going to buy a trail map from the shop and open it? Like, People don't do that anymore.
Well, like when you first said that too, like the way that I used to, like if I did go somewhere and ride, like say I used to work in a place that had an office in Portland, and I would go up to Portland kind of semi-frequently. And if I wanted to ride up there, there was no like real trail map to go like walk into the store and buy, right? So I would get on like MTBR forums, and I'd go into the Oregon forum, and I'd be like, hey, I'm going to be in Portland on these dates. Like, anybody up there want to show me around? And maybe if I got lucky, I would get a guide, right? You know, and now,
or find a discussion where there was some intel on where everything was.
Right. But now, like, you can just be like, hey, I'm doing this road trip between here and Timbuktu, and this is where I'm going to stop on day 2. And you can just open up Trail Forks and be like, okay, that's where I can go. And I can know what direction to go and like everything, you know? So that makes such a huge difference compared to like some people on YouTube making videos. And you might not even be able to find that freaking video anyway, you know, like
it is insane how many people use Trail Forks. And here's the funny part. Back when you were going on forums and finding intel about trails and meeting people were having the conversation of, oh man, remember back when we couldn't Google search forums and find intel on trails?
Yeah.
And man, they had no idea what smartphones were around the corner, what that was going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah. I want to hear what your, I could see there was a little hesitation in your Trail Forks charging like face. And, I want to ask you, you know, like think about it this. I mean, you're a web guy in the past.
Sure.
You know what servers cost, you know what like bandwidth costs. Like, how would you expect that to not be free?
Okay, so I mean, look, I'm a free market capitalist. Like, I totally get that people have to make money, but Trail Forks was always free, and then you could pay to have extra. And I did pay to have the extra so that I had the full functionality of the app. And I think that's a fair way to go because they're crowdsourcing the trail maps from the general public. So the app, the reason the app is valuable is because they've crowdsourced all of this trail data. And so now all those people who have been contributing, like there's some people who like really feel like it's their responsibility, and they go out there and they're submitting tons of trails and they're making sure the data is good and they're submitting updates. And then they wake up the next day and now they got to pay for something that they've been contributing to. That to me is the only part that I know it. I've always paid for it. So whatever, like it didn't affect me, but I understand why it rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it too. And there's plenty of people that are like, hey, you could just throw some ads on there. The one thing I will say that they mentioned during the podcast was you can still use the website anywhere for free.
Yeah.
So it's really the mobile app that they're charging you for. Anyways, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I guess if you have I guess if you never updated the app, you don't have to pay for it. But
I think you did. I think it like somehow like they were like pushing
and it's cheap.
Update or I guess
it doesn't cost a lot. But I had something had happened to my phone. I bought a new phone, and instead of doing the restore, I just started installing everything from scratch. I downloaded Trail Forks, and it was like, you have this trial, and then you can't use it. And maybe there's a way to use it for free, but the way it looked to me was that I had no option but to register. But I just logged in and I was already paying for it. So it was, but
they give you free,
is there a way to use it for free?
Yeah, you can use the app for free, but it's like only in like your geographical area or something like that. So like, like a home zone, and it's like, you get Sacramento and that's it, or something like that.
And then when you're traveling, you can't use it.
right. When you really need it.
I get it. Everybody's got to make money. And an app is going to be better when they have funding like that. Like they can update it and they can keep it going and everything. It's just like, maybe if you've submitted X amount of trails, maybe you should get like credits for that or something.
I think he said that they had like the people that are like the big contributors like that, they have a different program for them. So But yeah, it's interesting, it's interesting to think about.
I mean, I love Trail Forks, but I get
Yeah.
why some people were pissed when they sort of changed the subscription model a little bit.
I initially resisted it too, where I was like, screw them, man, I ain't paying that money. Like it used to be free. And then it didn't take very long until I was going somewhere else, and then that value was there. It was like, well, do I want to see like where all these trails are and know that it's reliable data and it's $3 a month? I was like, all right, well,
here's what happens
now,
like you find an app that's really valuable and you buy it, and you were always paying for it. It was never free, right? Trail Forks was pretty free at one point. There was a lot of functionality that was free. And so it's going to piss people off when, they change the subscription, they remove some of the features or corral you into one area. To me, the only sticking point, the only thing that I understand the backlash is there are these people that really felt like they were contributing to it and they were part of it. And then all of a sudden they don't even have access to the stuff that they submitted.
Yeah.
I
can totally understand.
So that. I get it. I pay for YouTube too, because I don't want to see the freaking, the 4-second skip ads.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. You ever think that there's a day when they go to a model that's like a pay only model?
What was that question?
Like basically like where they limit you on YouTube as well. You know what I mean? Like maybe that, do you think that gets to it? There's a day?
No.
I mean, dude, there is an insane amount of data that they're storing. You know what I mean?
They're never gonna make YouTube only pay because you're not YouTube's customer. The customer are the advertisers. And so they need to keep their traffic up and guarantee X amount of viewers to do it.
Right.
YouTube's customers are not the people who watch it.
You think there's space
if they're paying for YouTube Red, then they are the customer. But
you think there's space for somebody else to come in and kind of like actually give YouTube a run for their money on
there already is
providing a similar service?
I think it would be hard to offer something similar to YouTube. It would be pretty difficult. I think YouTube's reached this point where you're watching YouTube because that's where all the creators are, and you're creating on YouTube because that's where all the viewers are. Things could totally change, but as long as we have smartphones in their current form and computers in their current form, it's going to be hard for something to sort of fill YouTube space. But I could see people using their time to do something else. And like, here's where YouTube sits. You're sitting on the toilet, you're watching TikTok or Instagram because you have that highly digestible, really quick stuff. They know how to, the algorithms are scary. They know exactly what's going to suck you in and keep you on the toilet for longer. You're like, I wiped 15 minutes ago and I'm still watching this, it's dried up already. Now I'm like picking it off. Too much info. But yeah, the algorithms are that good where it dries up. So then you have Netflix, and Netflix is when you're going to, or Hulu or any of those other services, Disney Plus, if you're going to sit down and really commit to giving something your full attention, that's where those services are. And those services are growing. All of them are growing. Netflix lost some subscribers, but that's just over the course of the last 2 years. If you look at over 10 years, I mean, all these services are growing. The only thing shrinking is cable.
I think Netflix is the number one user of bandwidth on the internet in the world.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, that's they're the ones that are they're using more traffic than porn, which is
super high.
It sounds bandwidth. Funny, but they use a lot of bandwidth too. You know what I mean?
But so YouTube is somewhere in between where you have a 10-15 minute video or a 20-minute video, and YouTube's more specialized. You have more niches. You have really, really specialized stuff on YouTube. And I think it's also a little bit grittier. There's a lot of polished stuff on YouTube, but there's also stuff that's just as long as something on Netflix, just as engaging as something on Netflix, but a little bit grittier because the production is closer to, you don't need as much funding to get started on it. So
Yeah.
it really fills this unique void. And the biggest TikTokers are trying to become YouTubers. They're trying to start their own YouTube channel so they can get paid. It's hard to make a living on TikTok.
That's the thing. That's the only thing that I think that there's a possibility that somebody else could do. Let's just say YouTube 2.0 or whatever you want to call it, right? Like I feel like somebody could maybe make a platform that's similar and may like somehow pay the influence, like the creators better, and be able to actually like pull some of the traffic away from YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that if somebody's going to pull traffic away from YouTube, it's going to be Facebook, because they already have the users there. They can already suck them into videos, and they already have a system that plays videos just like YouTube. And then YouTube's also stepping on like Facebook's toes with the YouTube Shorts, you know, but YouTube already has the people logged in. It already has the people who are willing to watch content, and they already have the way to suck you in. To have a standalone application that sucks people into just watching video seems difficult to imagine. I'm not saying it's impossible or even that unlikely, but I just don't see it happening.
Really leveraging Instagram now. I mean, you didn't see that before, but like with the reels and stuff like that, you'll be on Facebook, and next thing you know, you're looking at Instagram reels, and you don't even realize it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know that Facebook is really useful. The marketplace, the posts, it's become a pretty good video platform, and the groups are so useful. But man, I can't stand being on Facebook as a just like a user. I don't like spending time there. It gives me anxiety. It was probably around 2016 that I like deleted all my friends and got off of Facebook, and I haven't really been on it since.
What was it that gave you anxiety about it? Like FOMO?
Watching all my friends and family tear each other apart about stuff they would never talk to each other about in real life. Everybody's putting their unsolicited opinions out there, and you know, there's no middle ground. It's like amplifies the extremes, and it takes people who I deeply love people that are on all different sides and have all different opinions. And I don't let those opinions or their views on something affect my opinion of them as a human being.
Yeah, totally.
But on Facebook, you see all day people like character assassination based on opinions. And
it's unbelievable.
And it's sad because that's not all Facebook is used for. That's this much of what you can use Facebook for is really useful for keeping in touch with people. And there's the groups, but it's like every time you log in, they put something like that in your face. And even the most mundane post, you see like your crazy uncle and somebody else having at it in the comments. And it's just like, I don't want to feel like the human race is like this. Like, I'm just going to interact with people in real life, and they're way more reasonable.
Yeah, that keyboard shield is a real thing, you know, where people just say things when they're typing that they would never in a million years say to somebody in front of them.
Totally.
It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. I don't know how that changes, because something has to change, you know, like there has to be some kind of ethics that how our society changes, because like the way that is affecting children nowadays is like unbelievable. Like it's the amount of pressure that we felt when we went to high school about like feeling cool in front of our like couple of friends or our small high school or whatever is so much harder with kids now, because they're like feeling that pressure from the entire fucking world. You know,
I know.
it is unbelievable.
That's really it.
Yeah, my daughter's like in her almost 20, and you can see the way that it affects her in a way that like I would never imagine that like it would affect people. You know what I mean?
So that's really it. When you are in the comments on Facebook and you're talking to somebody, okay, let's say you really wanted to change their opinion. Let's say they said something and you think that they're misinformed and
Right.
you really wanted to change their opinion. Have you ever changed somebody's opinion? No. The last way to do it is to tell them they're wrong in front of everyone.
Yeah.
They're going to double down. So
right.
you would private message them and say, "Hey, I understand this is your viewpoint, but you know, do you want to talk about this? I'd really like you to hear my viewpoint." And if you approach them civilly, maybe there's a chance that you could change their viewpoint. But they're not interested in changing their viewpoint. They want to signal to everybody else that they're, you know, I'm so virtuous that even this little thing pisses me off, and I'm going to call you out in front of everybody I know.
Right.
That's comments on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, or the bad ones. And so it's not about changing people's minds. It's not about any type of civility. It's that they know they're being watched doing it. It's different than a conversation you would have with somebody in private. It's not private.
Yeah. Yeah. Something's going to change. I don't know how that happens without like, yeah, it's tough, dude. It's like, I don't want to get like political or like, it'd be really easy to slide down on some slope, you know, like it's just, nor do I want, you know, the people in the comments to get there. It's just, it's like, how do you do that without like infringing on people's rights or how do you do that without like taking the ability to be human away? You know what I mean?
I think that the problem is, so let's say there's an algorithm that chooses the videos that are going to be the most interesting. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be normal stuff. It's going to be crazy stuff. And so it works the same with posts. A post that people engage with, so if it pisses them off or they agree with it strongly, those and the further to each end that it is, the more it's going to show up. And that's what's made people just way more kind of split into different camps. And there's also the fact that Facebook puts you in an echo chamber. You start liking a post and now everything you see is that. And now you say, oh, that must be the way everybody thinks.
Yeah.
So,
if you watch, I mean, there's a bunch of documentaries out there right now, or like there's some good like Rogan podcasts and other people that talk about the way that the platforms are, the algorithms are written. Let's just say it that way. It's interesting that it could be programmed different and it could change things completely. You know what I mean?
It could, but it would also make it harder for really interesting content to come up.
Yeah.
It's really, you know what I don't understand? Now I'm usually pretty understanding of like why software is made a certain way, because I get that it's not always as simple as it looks on the surface. And so I get like if they made Facebook like less likely to radicalize people, also the best content wouldn't come up, and then their competitor could swoop in and have a more engaging platform and users would migrate there. Like I get that. You know what I don't understand? I'm Berm Peak, right? I have a Berm Peak logo on my videos. Somebody else 10 minutes ago creates a YouTube account and they upload the same damn logo, the exact same logo. They call themselves Berm.Peak. And then they try to scam my audience, and they don't have an algorithm that can pick that up.
Yeah, right.
Why can't they figure this out? It's like if an account that's this old has the same exact, how about any comment that has the same exact picture as a YouTuber over like 10,000 subscribers that posted on their video? Yeah. Maybe they should hold that for review by the YouTuber. Yeah. Now, I understand that that would be a very easy algorithm to create. but it would have to run on every single YouTube video ever made and constantly scan the comments when new things come in. It would use resources on their system. Like, I get that. But like, I had somebody very intelligent who I know text message me and say, "Hey, Seth, my son was really excited to find out he won a bike."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. How many people have like fell for this and gave their information out?
I had one of my
me.
Yeah, I had one of my subscribers text me, somebody I had ridden with, because they thought they won a bike from you. And they were like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get back to Seth, but he's not like, responding or whatever."
And I guess
whatever
you told them that was a scam.
Yeah, and I was like, "Dude, that's not Seth, man." Like, I don't know how else to tell you. It's
like,
sad,
it breaks
though.
my heart that there are probably people out there trying to get in touch with me who think that they won a bike or something, and really they're just feeding their information to some scam artist.
And I don't understand how like they can't be having some kind of like algorithm that is like pretty simply like, "Hey, we've gotten 15,000 freaking spam reports on this like excerpt of text. Like, we should be able to stop all of that from ever happening again."
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna solve it on my channel. I'm going to weaponize my audience. When I see commenters that are like just like that I see all the time and they're just civil,
Telegram
I'm gonna click the little dots and I'm gonna just make them an admin, and then I'm gonna let them impose their will on people. And they can just delete those or ban them or whatever. And I'm gonna weaponize like 1,000 people out there.
There you go.
And there's gonna be a little bit of collateral damage. Some of them are gonna go rogue and start banning people and stuff, but YouTube won't do anything about it. I'm left with no choice.
Yeah. Something has to happen, The thing is like they'll be doing it on other videos though too. Like it'll be like I commented, let's just say I commented on like a single track sampler video, and I'll get things from the Lone Ranger's Telegram account telling me I want a bike. You know what I mean? And so it's not even like it's your only on your own posts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would think nuts. That like,
they're in every platform, and I don't understand. So one day I should just like respond to one of them on a different account and let them suck me into their scam, because I still don't understand how they are gaining from it.
Yeah, my assumption is that they're getting personal information for identity theft. That would be my assumption. It would be that, or they're going to be like, "Hey, we need you to send this money for shipping," or it's. I mean, I do IT, so it's the exact same scam. It's just, how do you get either personal information or people to send you money?
It's all about user data and info nowadays.
And realistically, what it comes down to is like, when you have a bot that's making that post for you, 1,500,000 times, like you only need to get a couple of people at $350 a day, and you're like a millionaire.
But these posts are are not being made by a bot, because it looks too much like my username. It has the same icon, and then they say something very specific and like well worded and researched. I mean, not well worded, but it's like win a Santa Cruz Nomad or something like that. Like a bot's not going to come up with that.
I feel like it's a bot that's posting them though. It's like, "Hey, I write this program that says, here's the top 15 freaking mountain bike YouTubers. I'm going to pull their accounts, and now I'm going to target anybody that is commenting on these videos that are similar." Right. And then you do the same thing with the top like moto accounts, and you do the same thing with the top like freaking, I don't know, gift wrapping accounts. And you know what I mean? Like toy unboxing accounts, and it's the same algorithm that you've written, and it's just like you have to like maybe write 10 different emails, and now you've got a million people that you can try to get money from.
That's why we can't have anything nice.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, here's where security has gotten. So my phone, the charge port on my phone broke.
Mm-hmm.
The charge port doesn't work anymore. Something got stuck in. I tried to dig it out and I broke the little pins on it. And Apple warrantied it, but they told me you got to go to Best Buy. So I'm like, all right, great. So I go to Best Buy. They're like, yeah, we have to replace the whole back of the phone. It's got all this stuff in it. It's going to take like 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, I thought they were going to give me a refurb or something, but whatever.
Yeah,
so I just left the store without a phone. And I went home and I said, whatever, I'm editing for the next 2 days. I'll have my like iMessage on the computer. I'll be fine. So Tuesday rolls around. They're like, come pick up your phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to like pick up dinner on the way home. So I'm like, okay, once I get my phone, I'll call Amy. So I get the phone. I turn it on. And it's like, okay, start up your iCloud. So I type in my username and password. And then it's like, hey, we just sent a verification code to one of your other Apple devices, which makes perfect sense. So just click verify on one of your other Apple devices. I'm like, I'm at freaking Best Buy. I want to use my phone. So I'm like trying to find a way around it. I'm like, whatever, email it to me. So I go over to the computer department and now I go to iCloud.com and I log into my email. And then it's like, hey, this looks like a device you don't use. You can just go on your iPhone and you can just verify this. And so all of this, the root of this is just idiots who freaking scam people. They have to have all this security.
Yeah.
But that security protocol is confounding. I eventually figured it out. If you say text message it, it'll actually text message it to the phone and then automatically verify it. But it was like I was in a circle because we can't have anything else because of scammers.
Yeah. It's the sad state of the reality is that no matter what, people will always be trying to scam people. And even if we fix all these ways that it is right now, there'll still be some other scam. Like it's like, unfortunately, that's just that's humans, you know, like.
Well, the worst part is more people are getting into scamming. So like the other day, it was a Sunday afternoon, I get a phone call and just a normal guy with a North Carolina accent. He says, hey, this is Duke Energy. And we have a work order to shut off your power, you know, and your account is marked to, and I said, I'm on auto pay. There's no way. I haven't ever been late on a bill. Like, look into it. Like, there's no way. So he puts me on hold for like 10 minutes. And I'm sitting there on hold for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I log into my account. Everything's paid up. And I'm like, this, you know, what the hell is this? He comes back and he's like, yeah, it's red flagged. And, you know, within the hour, we're going to be shutting off your power, you know, unless we get express payment. And I'm like, read me my account number. Click.
Yeah.
He's like a guy from North Carolina, like a normal dude doing it. It's not like, you know, halfway around the world or something.
But the ability now to reach a wider audience is so much easier than it was before. Like,
yeah.
So like a regular guy that doesn't know too much could get online and find out how to use some kind of auto dialer to call 500 people and connect it to his phone whenever it finally gets through.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Whereas before it would have been like, hey, I have to go out to the phone book and I have to write down all these people's addresses and send them all a letter that says your uncle in East Lithuania has died and we're trying to send you his money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like so the ability to like spread that net is so much easier now.
The cost is so little per person.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what it really comes down to.
If they get one.
Well, and some of these a lot of it originates in countries that have much lower cost of living. So like they could hit somebody and get somebody for $1,000, and that's like a 3-month salary for like their whole house. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like of people. So
sure.
it's like
And from
And
their
that,
perspective, they probably don't feel like they're doing anything
oh,
wrong
no.
or unethical.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if we had like some like alien overlords or something that just like ate babies and we scammed them. We wouldn't feel like it was bad. That's probably how they view us. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm still not going to let them scam me.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's definitely it's an interesting world out there, man. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
that's definitely has a lot to do about bikes there. Good thing it's my podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we
So
got on that from the scam comments in YouTube.
yeah. It's definitely it's funny how a conversation can go. So what are you looking forward to other than the lack of a sponsor?
I'm actually really excited for this year's content. Like really focusing on content. I think that I figured out what to do when the weather's bad. I have all this content I can make in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Berm Peak is running pretty good, and there's some more features I can build down at the bottom. Berm Park is done, and as much as I love Berm Park and I love doing the project, it was a huge time suck on the outside, and now I'm not doing that anymore, and so I can like think about it more.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple of things that I'm not going to announce quite yet. A couple of like big things, projects that are going to suck up my time, but they're going to be fun, and so we'll talk about them eventually.
I was watching your stuff the other day and I was thinking to myself that you've really done a good job of creating a huge canvas that you can create content on at your home. Like,
thank you.
You've done like a really, really good job of that. Like there's so much that you can make on your own property, where it's whether you're doing something with your property or even whenever you like ride the flip bike, you have a place to ride it, you have a place to work on it, and it's really interesting to think about. I mean, that was planned. It's like you didn't accidentally do that. You know what I mean?
No, it was a very conscious effort, but I do that with everything. Like, oh, I need a tool for this. I look at it just like a tool. Oh, I keep doing this. I keep painting crap all the time in a box. Let me get this like tent that's designed to paint crap in. It's the same thing. I'm like, I'm always like testing these bikes and like going out into the woods and people are stopping me and stuff. I need a place to do it.
Yeah. I guess I didn't even think about that, because at your level of success, going out to a trail is like probably a lot more effort than it would be for somebody like
if you're out there to really get something done, it's tough. If you're out there just hanging out, whatever, you know, people are cool.
That's super rad.
But if you're out there trying to get something done, sometimes it's difficult. It is. And so everything that I built around here is kind of a tool. So when we were looking for this house, having a big garage was going to be a big part of it, because I was driving Amy crazy with the stuff in the house, and I had a 1-car garage. Before that, I had a closet. You know, it's so just keep upgrading your tools.
Do you see your team getting bigger to like continue to make more content with like Berm Peak Express and Berm Peak and being able to?
No, if not really. Well, to some extent, like maybe subcontractor wise, like I make connections with people who can handle certain things, but I've experimented a lot, and what I've settled on is the less people involved when I'm making a video, the better, because I'm not a good organizational leader. I'm good at making videos. And so the more I just know what's in my head and do what I can do, the better. Now, Curtis, my assistant producer, he's really good at just helping realize my vision. We've been working together for quite a few years. He's great with the camera. He's a really good editor. We have the same exact taste in humor. And so like we always know when something is going to be a good joke and stuff like that. And when I'm talking to when he's holding the camera and I'm talking to the camera, I'm trying to make him laugh.
Right.
You know? So that works, but adding more into the mix doesn't necessarily yield a better video or more productivity. The other thing that I've decided is here to stay is me editing. It doesn't matter how big I get, I need to edit. Like I have to do some editing. So I edit the Berm Peak videos and he edits the Berm Peak Express videos. The Berm Peak Express videos are more, I guess you could say YouTube-y, but they're still polished. I like to stay in the trenches because it keeps me sharp, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And even if we can do everything we have to do and keep the channel running with those Berm Peak Express style videos, there are things that I want to say and like insights that I want to put out there that I can only do if I totally produce the video. And so I don't see really changing up the way I make videos. I'll use other subcontractors and other kind of employees to maybe, like on Instagram, people have probably seen that there are some reels, and I have somebody who takes my videos and chops them down into reels. You've probably seen the Facebook stuff.
Yeah, I thought Curtis that was doing that.
There's somebody else. No, Curtis isn't doing the Facebook stuff. It's somebody else, and I don't know. I'm not that involved with it, to be honest. But I wanna improve that stuff. I just got to find the time. I just keep putting it off. I know some of it probably feels a little bit impersonal because I'm not involved in it. And so that's why I don't like doing more of that stuff. YouTube is where my head's at. Like, people are like, oh, you know how much you could be doing on TikTok? And like, I see the value in TikTok. I'm sold on it. Like, I agree, but I just can't get myself psyched up and passionate about it because I don't use it. The only one of these platforms that I use personally is YouTube. I never scroll through Instagram. I use YouTube all the time. I use it for podcasts. I use it to learn things. I use it for entertainment. And so I know how to make content for it. The other ones, I'm just shooting blind.
Yeah, well, the thing though that's nice about, you know, a couple of those platforms is like you can make a reel and it can be a short, it could be a Instagram, you know, it could be a TikTok as well. So it could really like fall on all three of those platforms with the same content.
Yeah, you can chop down a video into a reel, and it also works for a YouTube short, and it also works for Facebook feeds. And so I want to do a better job of that. Definitely, because there are people that want that, because like something like a flip bike episode, let's say I explain what an eccentric bottom bracket is. That one section of the video can be made into a short, a reel, a feed video, and it would be really interesting. But that's what I'm saying.
Like, you could be dropping that on TikTok though too.
We're going to start doing that. We are absolutely going to start doing that because it's good. TikTok's a good platform.
I think at the end of the day, all it is you're trying to get more exposure, and that's, you know, going to help your business, you know, Berm Peak or whatever you want to call it, continue to grow. I watched this interview with Mr. Beast, and he talked about having not only like the subtitles in different languages, but having voiceovers done for his videos in different languages, and how much it changed his like, that's where he grew a lot. And it made me wonder with somebody like you, because obviously you have to be making enough money to pay for that, you know, like.
So yes. So that's the thing. If I put out the money and did it, it could very well succeed. But for Mr. Beast to spend that money and just try it to see if it works, it doesn't affect his life at all.
Yeah.
But that's an enormous expense, because I'm not just going to go on Fiverr and have somebody narrate my videos. I need like an incredible narrator. And I would try and find like a mountain biker in the Spanish speaking world or German and that everybody knows, and have them do it. Like use somebody that already has a platform, because I'd want to give my audience there something cool. I want them to put the emotion into saying it, and not just read through it and overdub it. I'd want it like
he talked about that, and them having some like QC process that it was actually, you know, what he was expecting. And so I mean, there's companies out there that'll do what you're asking for, and it was just really interesting because I never thought about that when he said something like, I'm going to pick a number.
He's having celebrities do it.
Yeah, I'm going to pick a number that's wrong or something. But he said something like only like 10% of the world speaks English. So like if you just dropped in like, let's just say Spanish, all of a sudden you have like another 10% or something like that. Like all these people that wouldn't watch your content at all just because it's not in their language.
I was thinking about
bike.
doing it in like maybe Scottish or something. Then I could at least do the QC myself. But if it's in like a different language, I'd have to just trust that they're doing it well.
Yeah, I mean, basically they had like, I think they had like a third, like a secondary person that would be like listening to it to confirm that it was saying whatever. But one way or another, it was, I just thought it was interesting because he said that it just dramatically changed how many subscribers he had. His content though is a little more widely consumable. But that's what I assumed that you were doing by starting Berm PEEK Express.
Germany has a crap load of mountain bikers. I could do it in Germany and probably kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just be curious, like if you did it with like maybe a video or something like that. Like
I should start with, it kind of makes sense to maybe do like Latin America and just Spanish speaking world first because there's so many people. But actually, I think second is Germany. Like as far as like a country, like it's hard to make I'd have to sit there and look at all the Spanish speaking countries and add them all up. But Germany is so huge with my viewers. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many people there that can speak English that watch my videos that it makes up a huge percentage of my audience. And so,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But probably Spanish speaking, I would just have to find somebody who is really good and animated to read it out. And then I'd start with my most viewed videos.
Yeah.
But man, that would be a big project. And I would just have to trust that they did it right. Now, I have been doing Spanish subtitles in my videos. And they're done professionally. And they're done really well.
Yeah. So, like, what if you just did other languages subtitles then, too?
The subtitles don't seem to have any effect on the videos.
Really?
On the traffic. I know people are using them, but, like, it doesn't seem to have any effect. And so I think you have to do it all the way. I think you have to get a voice actor and, like do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you really do. And so I really should. I'm probably leaving a lot on the table by not trying that. And if I lived in Miami still, then it'd be really easy. But I don't know any Spanish speaking people around here. So it used to be like 90% of my friends down there.
Yeah, right.
I could just say, you want to do it?
Right.
But no, I don't have access to as much culture here.
Yeah.
So I really have to just reach through the grapevine and just make sure it was being done right. I really should do that.
Could you see yourself doing some other kind of content? Like I feel like Berm PEEK Express was a way for you to really diversify and be able to have some content that's like consumable by anybody. Could you see yourself like get something else? Do you feel like you have as much creative freedom as you want on that? Like
so I don't have any plans to do that, but I've considered like, hey, what if mountain biking just like dried up for some reason? I couldn't make a living making mountain bike content. I think I would be able to figure out how to do something else. There's lots of other stuff I could do.
I feel like you could just run with whatever you're doing on Berm PEEK Express and just kind of feel your way through it.
Yeah, I feel like mountain biking is really interesting because I know a thing or two about it, and so it's easier for me to make the content on it. It's also exciting, and there's the fixing part of it, there's the geeking out about parts, and then there's also the trail building, and then there's the actual riding mountain bikes, and you hit jumps and stuff. That's fun, that's exciting. It's a lot more exciting than like making pottery or something. So so mountain biking does have a lot going for it, but at the same time, I don't think that's what necessarily makes the content successful. I think not being afraid to boil things down in a way that people can understand is what makes it successful. Like a big mountain bike media outlet they're talking to mountain bikers.
Mhm.
I am not assuming that the audience understands anything but the very basics. And so it doesn't seem to turn off actual mountain bikers, and it makes it more digestible by the general public. And I have a lot of people that come up to me like, hey, you're the only channel like my wife will watch with me.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, whatever, your significant other that doesn't mountain bike. Like, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
And I've always done that because that's what I like to watch. I like to watch somebody that, like, I love Matt's off-road recovery. Like, I don't do any, well, I do some kinds, some recoveries that get the gator stuck here and there. But the people watching they're not all vehicle recovery experts. Anybody can watch it. It's interesting to anyone. Or, you know, those HGTV, like, home remodeling shows. It's not contractors watching it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so it's weird that not a lot of other people in biking do it that way.
Yeah, yeah. No, it totally is. Well, you do an amazing job at what you're doing. I mean, obviously
Thank
the
you.
numbers don't lie. So I can't believe that it's 2 hours and I still feel like I got a billion things that I'd love to talk to you about. So we'll have to save that for another episode. I really appreciate you. Yeah, man, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I know it's late back there for you, but it was a good time chatting like it is every time. So
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Just one of these days, man, this podcast will be big enough. I'll be flying you out here, then we'll be able to go ride.
There you go.
You know, once I get that big sponsorship deal, I'm going to look for Diamondback now that they got an opening.
Hey, they might.
Right. Anyways, man, I'm really, really appreciate having you out here or having you on the show and chatting with me. And like I said, it's nothing but a pleasure every time we hang out and BS.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, it's always a good time. We'll do it again soon.
For sure. All you guys out there, obviously, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do me that favor, hit the button. You can also swing over to my other channel. It's just B1KER, B1KER. It only takes a bike to be a biker, right? So swing over there. Thumbs up on this if you enjoy it. If you like podcast, that's what this is. It's here live on YouTube, but it's also on your favorite podcast apps. You can swing by and listen to it there. You can even write a 5-star review if you feel like it. I went yesterday and took a look. Somebody wrote me one just the other day. Thank you very much. You could be the next one. I really would appreciate that. If you have the time, sit down, write something nice, hit 5 stars and make my day, because it always feels good when I see something like that. Outside of all of that, I really appreciate all of you guys for sitting down and listening as well. It really means a lot. And remember, if there's only one thing you get out of this, it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one.
Sweet.